Welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We will rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Dead Silence, A Death in Palm Springs. On 1991 Movie Rewind. In Dead Silence, or A Death in Palm Springs, 3 college seniors travel down to Palm Springs for their last spring break vacation. While searching for a party in the desert, they get lost on the highway and accidentally hit and kill a homeless man that was walking along the side of the road. While one of the girls wants to report the crime to the police, the other 2 convince her to cover it up and go back home and hope for the best. Screenplay by J. David Miles, directed by Peter O'Fallon, and premiered on Fox on August 26, 1991. So just like most TV movies, I don't think I have to ask if you've seen this before.
No.
Yeah. Quick note, there are 2 movies in 1991 that were actually called Dead Silence. So if you search for this movie, you'll likely find it just by searching Dead Silence. A Death in Palm Springs was like a working title. I don't think it was ever the official title, but it's also findable, searchable by that name. So that's why we're making the distinction, because there is another 1991 movie called Dead Silence with a different cast.
And when I was
lesser known
looking for stuff about this movie specifically, it was kind of hard because I was just getting the other movie.
Which is more of like a 40s noir style thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's another movie that came out, like a horror movie that came out in 2007 called Dead Silence.
With like a puppet.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it was kind of hard trying to find anything about this movie.
Yeah, and it's also tough to find stuff about TV movies in general. And this was a Fox movie, which meant it had even less prestige than something you might see on ABC or NBC or CBS back in the day. It's, the 4th channel. So I think that probably added to the issues. We were able to find this on YouTube. I think that's the only place you can actually find it. I could not find any proof of a VHS or a DVD copy that this was ever released. And the version we saw on YouTube was basically a rebroadcast on the Lifetime Movie Network, which I'm not even sure still exists.
LMN,
Yeah. It probably does with all their, Hallmark Christmas stuff. I don't know if they're the same or whatever. But, so it's a old rebroadcast that somebody taped and then uploaded on low resolution. So I apologize for all the screenshots that you might see on the website or on the YouTube video if you're watching the YouTube version of this. Yeah. Low quality.
Yeah.
The movie itself isn't terribly low quality in terms of directing. I think automatically we see these 3 college girls. We get very brief introductions to 2 of them. We get Sunny editing her final project because she wants to be a news anchor, and so she's editing her last field report piece that she's doing for school. And then we briefly see Zana? Zan. Trying to negotiate her grades, and she has aspirations of becoming a lawyer.
Yeah, going to law school. They either called her Zan or Zanny. I never heard them say Zana or Xana.
Yeah, they tended to use, except for Sunny, they tended they called Joan Joni more.
Yeah, they were all with an E at the end. It was like Zanny, Sunny, Joni.
And I think that's just because they've been friends for a really long time. And I really liked the rapport between the 3 of them. Especially early on, I thought they, did a great job of conveying that long friendship between the 3 of them. So, but we don't really get introduced to Joan all that much until, I guess, once they're at Palm Springs. That's when her character starts to come out a little bit more. I mean, she's like the super hyper bouncy wild child type.
Yeah.
mean, overall, it's a very quick introduction to these characters. We see them in their shared house. I'm assuming it's like off-campus housing or something that they all share together.
Yeah, like a sorority. Again, I don't know these things.
Yeah, we really didn't know much about it, but I mean,
yeah, like their last year.
I think we learn later that it's their last year. We were a little confused because part of the introduction is that Zan gets a letter from Columbia.
Yeah,
and we're like, okay, well, are they in college? Because this is a letter from college.
Yeah, that I thought
acceptance.
It was high school, like they were 18-year-olds, like it's senior year going into college.
Yeah, but it turns out, no, that's just her trying to get into law school after her undergrad. So that was a little confusing for us, but we got past that over time. But later on, because of the situational dialogue, we basically pick up that they're seniors, and then later on, after the accident happens and they return to their normal lives, then they show the graduation party, and some of the events happen at the graduation party.
Yeah, and also during their spring break, Sunny has like an internship or just like a job already.
Yeah, she's going to start a job in Palm Springs with a news station. She goes to meet her boss, who's going to be Mrs. Stillman, and drop off paperwork, but Mrs. Stillman basically says, we need you to start tomorrow. We were going to start you at the end of the month after you graduated, which I don't know if spring break happens that soon.
Spring break is like March, basically.
It's like March, April, and then like graduation's usually like May.
So like that's what confused me the most. I'm like, so she's starting her job, but she still has to go back to school to like finish school and then graduate.
Yeah,
I was like, why couldn't you wait?
Escalated timelines or something, but yeah. In short, she wants her to start the job right now, which again is weird because Mrs. Stillman should know that she's still actively enrolled in college and should need to finish her graduation.
And then it's like also not fair because this is her spring break vacation.
True. But she doesn't know that they're down there for that. Mrs. Stillman doesn't know that's why she's there.
She's just like, oh, you're here, you might as well just start.
Yeah. And Mrs. Stillman also does not let anyone get a word in edgewise at all. That's a recurring theme with her interactions with Sunny, is that Mrs. Stillman just keeps talking, and Sunny's trying to explain something or get a point across, and she just steamrolls the conversation.
Yeah, she's like either always interrupted by like an assistant coming in telling her this and that, or she gets a phone call and she's like, hold on a minute, let me take this call, or just interrupting her.
Yep. So I mean that comes into play a little bit, but yeah, in general the whole movie has a lot of very quick exposition, a lot of fast dialogue, people talking over each other a lot of times. Especially in the earlier scenes when we're seeing them in the house together, it's very frantic in a sense, when really all they're trying to do is get into the cab and go to Palm Springs, but it just feels overwhelming and sensory overload, and you have this blaring 90s music in the background the entire time.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of Beverly Hills 90210. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
which makes sense because the guy who did the score also did Melrose Place and Central Park West theme song.
Okay, so that I was thinking
Miami
exactly.
Vice and
I was like, this is very Melrose Place.
Same guy. Tim Truman did the music for this. And later on, it like the music sort of turns into like sort of Twin Peaks inspired, or like there's some times where you got like silk stocking vibes. So.
Yeah, it's very. Even this storyline is something that could have been a story on Melrose Place.
Sure. I mean, I've never seen Melrose Place, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's really basic, unfortunately. I wish they would have done a little bit more with what happens after the accident, and because they set it up, that these three are very, very good friends. They're best friends forever, basically, and they have this accident. Sunny wants to go to the police and report it, and Zan's worried about how she might be affected and how she might not become a lawyer if she's involved in this criminal situation, and Joan doesn't want to report it because her parents don't even know that she's down in Palm Springs at all, and so she doesn't want to take any sort of responsibility. And so they think, okay, well, let's just get the rental car fixed, use cash instead of card, and we can try to pretend like this never happened. Because, maybe nobody will find this guy if we put him out in the ditch.
Yeah, or they find him and they're like, oh, well, he's a transient, so no one would care about him.
Yeah.
That's what Xana is just
kind of banking on. That they can find a way to not get caught. And Sunny is convinced, partly because she has a prior DWI, and so she'd be facing jail time almost definitely, regardless of whether or not it was an accident, because she had been drinking the night of that accident as well. The accident itself, I'll say, was probably the cheesiest moment of the whole movie.
Yeah, because the death scene of this man, it was like watching Death Race 2000 or something. I don't even.
it did feel super low budget. Like the slow motion.
But his entire
fast cuts.
Like his head goes through their shield and cracks like almost all the way through their windshield. I was like, oh my god.
And is like bouncing off of it and stuff. And like right before that, like someone off camera just throws like the shitty little tumbleweed in front of the car. And so but yeah, basically they're just distracted and talking to each other and joking when they drift off road and hit this
When
guy
I was like reading the little blurb about it, it was saying that they were like drunk driving, that they were tipsily driving. So
yeah, I mean they had been partying already that night. And the indication is that they have the water bottle, which was likely filled with booze as well, that was being passed around, most likely, or whatever.
So they're just drinking and laughing and whatever.
They did say that they had been drinking and that someone else was supposed to drive instead of Sunny, but it just didn't happen for some reason. I don't know why. Like Zan was supposed to be driving, but she wasn't. But
also, like, I don't know when the rules, maybe this is another The More You Know or something, where it's like, I don't know what the rules were, where, when you rent a car, you have to be 25 years old. Is this the movie? I don't want to say, is this the movie that was like the cause? You gotta be 25 now.
I think you are giving this movie way too much
I know,
historical
but I was like, when did they come up with that rule? Like, was it in the 90s? I don't know. I should look that up.
Yeah, go for it. But yeah, they definitely were drinking because they talk about how, okay, well, let's just sober up and think about it and, act in the morning with whatever we decide as a group. So, yeah, it's a weird death scene, and then I wish it would have gone a bit farther with what they did. In reality, what they do is they just go through what you expect the basic steps to be. They go to this repair shop. Again, they pool their cash together so they don't have any sort of credit card record. And then they make it seem like the repair shop people know exactly what was going on.
Yeah, it sounded as if they told them exactly what they did, because there was like...
Or they pieced it together themselves and like, oh, this dent looks like he probably fucking hit somebody. Like that, that was sort of like the glance and the tone that the guy was giving.
They were like creepy dudes out in the middle of nowhere, and...
It was like there was an adjoining bar.
Yeah.
Attached to the repair shop.
Yeah.
That was full of people.
Yes.
Because at one point she goes in and tries to steal the copy of the receipt that was inside the bar. So she says, hey, can I use your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Because the phone is next to the inbox outbox thing that has the receipt, and she's trying to like sneakily get that past the bartender who's like stealing glances at her.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird scene. But they really do make it seem like, yes, this is... Like, I know why you're getting this car fixed for cash.
Yeah, when you see, like, after they hit the guy and they're all creeped out about it, and Zanny is like, why don't we sleep on it? and then tomorrow we'll go talk to someone.
Yeah.
When they come back to wherever their hotel was, you can see like blood on
their dresses or
not them, but on the hood of the car.
And they wash off the car like as soon as they get there with a whole bunch of people around.
Yeah, but I was like, people can be putting two and two together here. I don't know.
We should probably quickly mention that this movie again was on Fox. It was a Fox TV movie, and before all the scary stuff happens, it's very obvious this was a Fox TV movie.
Yeah,
like
it just
there's
gave
a lot
me...
of B-roll of like vacation stuff and like hot bods and
the beginning of them.
It's like
once they land in, I'm assuming LA, because they're in LA, but then they drive out to Palm Springs. Palm Springs is like 2 hours out of the way, but they're like in the LA area, and it's just totally like if you're going to Venice, there's just like people are, and then it's spring break, so everyone is there, and it like just imagine MTV's Spring Break in the 90s.
Yeah,
like that type of feel.
Yeah, and that type of cinematography as well, right? So
like you're in a music. It's literally MTV Spring Break
without the VJs and the music. Yeah. So you have a lot of like hot cars, hot people, and buff bodies, and skimpy outfits and whatever for like 5 minutes. It's just a sequence, just glorifying the Spring Break party culture for a while, and you see like Joan, jumping off the roof into a pool with a couple guys is like part of her, wild child atmosphere and like happy-go-lucky whatever. So then they return to the hotel with all these people still partying around them, and they're washing off this car and like going past. And I appreciate what they were trying to do when they were trying to go back into their room. They're trying to turn the screams of the girls partying in the pool into like a horror type of a scream. And like they make the lighting is a lot more red, and you hear the voices like echo as they go through it to kind of give it a haunting feel as they're returning back to the room. So I appreciate what they're trying to do there, even if it didn't quite exactly work the way they wanted it to. But at least they tried something there to kind of convey the dissonance between those two situations, the party atmosphere and their real life waking horror that they're dealing with.
It just says they can rent cars to people under the age of 25, but you just pay an extra fee.
Oh, okay.
But I don't see like when it started.
I see. Well, the fee was paid on Joan's credit card.
Yes.
Which is a weird thing for her to do when her parents didn't know that she was down there. But that's...
I mean, if they have some sort of family joint credit thing, wouldn't the family see that, on their statement, like, a couple weeks later? And they'll be like, where's this from?
They might not. I don't know. Like, it's tough to say because during the graduation party, the dad... Because Joni loses her credit card at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
And that becomes a major, major plot point. And when they're having the graduation party, the dad says to her that he got a call from the bank about getting a new credit card reissued. And did Joan request this? Did she lose her credit card? And Joan says, no, I didn't request that. Maybe it was Mom that did that. So it sounds like it's a shared account from that. But how would she pay her bills, or does she pay her bills if they're living in a house with two other people? So it's tough to know, but it sounds like they're connected because the dad knew about the lost card.
But the dad would have seen that on their statement if they have like a joint family thing account.
Yeah. And I mean, they could have explained that away with the simple line of dialogue where Joan was just going to explain.
But she's also like
fraudulent,
what, like yeah, she's also like what 22 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, why she just can't have her own credit card, and like, why does her parents need to know this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just like reading into like
Yeah, I mean,
the stupidest things.
there's a lot of problems with the movie in terms of the logic. I think probably more upsetting rather than just the credit card stuff is how they handled the newsroom side of things in conjunction with the investigation. It's really weird that the police would basically invite the news people there while they're investigating the rental car when they do eventually discover the rental car that was used in the incident, that they would invite the news crews while they're actively, you know, looking at the vehicle and like, you know, trying to analyze the windshield.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing bothers me a little bit more. Or why the police would interview Sunny as a news person or talk to her at the morgue.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like, I mean, like some of that type of logical stuff is a lot more worrisome than, you know, did her dad have the credit card access to or not? Like, yeah, that's a little bit lesser for me.
I mean, even just I just had a problem with her being thrown into working right away, and then they give her this homicide case. Like,
yeah,
I was like, wow, I don't know.
and like, is she actually hired full time as a paid employee, or is this an internship where she also has to do on camera live reports?
But she's doing a lot of work.
A lot of work.
if that's, you know, starting out, or even doing like this, I wouldn't say it would be like an internship.
I mean,
if it
the work that
is,
she's doing
wouldn't she
is
be
not
like shadowing
work.
someone? I don't know anything. But if you're starting out, wouldn't you have someone mentoring you and she would just be observing, not just being like thrown automatically to do like the most hardest case, which is like a homicide?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what really bothered me.
But I mean, they had to include that so you could have the conflict and the internal struggle of her reporting on her own crime that she committed.
Right. I mean, I understand that for the plot.
But yeah, realistically, it would not have happened. And then you have Tommy, the cameraman, sort of following her around and, you know, saying, "Hey, let's go, we're live, blah, blah."
Yeah, he's like, "What's wrong with you?" and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I will say that, you know, we haven't talked about the cast and crew too much. I'll say that Tommy is one of the more notable names in this whole thing. I don't know if you recognize him at all. Stephen Brill. He's known for like some like cameo type work in a lot of Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, okay.
But he's more known as a director and a writer. So he directed several Sandler movies like Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Do-Over, Sandy Wexler, and also his first directorial debut was Heavyweights for Disney, which he got because he also wrote the Mighty Ducks trilogy for Disney. So, yeah, there you go. He's also a Razzie winner as one of the co-directors of movie 43, and also has a Razzie nomination for Little Nicky for both writing and directing. So, but yeah, there's a couple of big names in here, surprisingly, mixed in with. They weren't big at the time, but they are there, and he's the first one. So yeah, he's basically, you know, just following Sonny around and saying, "Hey, yeah, come on, get on camera right now, let's go."
Yeah.
And he's, you know, he has a goofy personality and adds some charm to the whole thing. I also found it interesting. They also had this guy Eric who was showing Sonny around at the very beginning, and they talk about the obituaries for people who are not dead yet. And it's like Gerald Ford and Sonny Bono. She sees the obituary files on them, you know, because news stations definitely do this with the prepackaged obits, you know, just in case someone passes away, they kind of get things ready to go so they can have it on air as soon as possible.
Yeah.
After the news breaks. And so they talk about like Gerald Ford and Sonny Bono, who weren't dead at the time, but now definitely both are. Sonny Bono being former mayor of Palm Springs, so who passed away in '98 from the skiing accident, infamously. So that was interesting that they threw in a reference to Sonny Bono in there. And it made me look up when did he die, because I thought he had died by 91.
No, that's like too early.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just kind of got it mixed up in my head. But yeah, back to the repair shop in a sense, because it's like one of those scenes where they spend a lot of time on the scene and they make it seem like it's going to come back to bite them later. And it just doesn't.
Yeah, like those guys would be like, oh yeah, we helped these 3 girls out with repairing this vehicle.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to use them as witnesses? But they were probably like
Cool
shady
with being
people.
part of the crime.
Yeah, like just shady dudes to begin with. So they were like, I just thought something bad was going to happen out of that. Like they were like, okay, we helped you, now you got to help us type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Because we know that what we're doing here is covering something up. We don't know what it is, but we know it's something bad. So now that we did this repair for you, you're going to have to like do something for us. But then that was after they fixed the car for them. That was that.
That was that.
Yeah. I just thought something bad was going to, because it seemed kind of like tense during that scene.
It did, and I think it's because they made it so the repair shop staff acted like they knew what had gone down, without outright saying it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's also a couple other parts.
They're probably like, oh, we see this all the time, we don't care. I don't know.
Maybe. But I mean, there's a couple parts where, you know, it seems like maybe they're going to get away with it, but you're watching a movie, so probably not. And one of those is when Joan is trying to go pick up Sunny at her news job. She stops by the scene of the crime, I think, to look for her credit card. I'm not 100% sure why she's there.
But I thought she found something else.
And she stops and cries, and like the car alarm somehow goes off while she's there, like right next to the body, and then a cop comes by to help her.
And then I was thinking, how do they know exactly where they hit him and hid him? Because it's like a long stretch of road of desert.
Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, and Joni, she was the most out of it out of them all after the accident. She just starts walking, and they, you know, find her after a little while.
Yeah,
like,
it was like she walking all the way back.
Like she just was like catatonic almost, and just sort of like walking out of like.
She just walked reaction. Up. Yeah. I mean, she has. I mean, she's the one that's like going through it the most mentally. Like she has PTSD from this. Yeah. And she can't get over it. I mean, who can? I don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why? Yeah. But the cop is there, helps her. She gets away from the situation. You know, it kind of makes it seem like the cop is going to find something because the body's right there, and he's like, "Oh, do you smell that?" And she thought he was referring to the rotting body that was nearby, but really he says, "Oh, is that your perfume?"
Right.
And then after she leaves, the cop finds the credit card of her. You know, of hers on the ground. That I think she was probably going to be looking for, but she never got out of the car to actually look for anything. She just stopped near the site of the accident, like I think started crying, and then the alarm went off, and that's when the cop showed up, like immediately. So, yeah, so that sort of like steamrolls the whole thing. And then there's that weird scene where the cop tries to return the credit card at the hotel room where Zan and them are staying, and you know, Zan is like, "Oh no, Joan's not here right now. I could take it if you want." It's like, "No, I have to return to the rightful owner." But then they both just like leave town. So does she ever actually get it back? I guess not, because that's
why she had to order a new
replacement.
But how would the cop know where they were staying?
I don't know. Maybe he was able to. Did they charge the room to her card too? Because if so, then they could probably track it that way.
Okay, yeah.
So, they show a little bit of.
I thought that was odd too. Because nothing happened after that.
With
the credit card.
I mean, it's just. The only thing that really happened with the credit card
is
that
them more.
It links Joan to the crime scene, but no one else. That's the key aspect of it.
Yeah, but him coming to the door saying, "Is Joan Reducci, I think, here?" And Zanny's like, "No, she's not here right now. What can I help you with?" And he's like, "Oh, I found her credit card." And She's like, well, I can give it back to her if you just give it to me. And he's like, no, I have to give it to the owner face to face. And she's like, well, she's not here. And then he's like, okay. It's just like...
Yeah, it was really just the first clue to have them, link somebody to the scene of the crime.
Yeah, but they didn't find this body yet.
No, they hadn't yet. But
like
when they do find the body, he uses the card and calls her to say, hey, I found your card near where this body was. Do you happen to know anything about this thing?
Yeah, and she's like, that's when she starts freaking out. Well, the other thing is that when they do come back home... Every time a phone rings and stuff, Joni does not answer the phone.
No one answers the phone.
Well, because they think...
It ring like 30 times because they always think it's the cops catching them.
Yeah, but then the one time she does answer, it's the cops.
Yeah. But honestly, it's just the two that go home and Sunny stays there to work. So
yeah, but then I was like, so Sunny is staying there? Did she get her own apartment and everything in like 2 days?
They said they're going to help her find another different hotel room, because they were leaving their place early. They weren't staying the full week. They were just going back as soon as possible.
So she's just not... Okay, Sunny's just like, okay, I guess I'm not going back to school. Because she does not go back for graduation, because she's already down there.
Party, no.
So she just never goes back?
I don't know. I guess not.
So don't you have to, like, finish school?
I mean, not technically. No one has to finish school. It's not mandatory.
Well, to graduate, don't you like the
but
the last month of your school? Isn't that finals and stuff?
I don't know. Ask the professor. Ask Professor Harris, Bryan Cranston, who's there as the ethics professor.
He's their own, which is
Zan, who has questionable ethics across the board.
Right, taking ethics class.
Consults with Bryan Cranston as Professor Harris about what constitutes being an accessory to murder, basically.
Yeah, I mean, she comes back. She comes back and is like studying all these law journals and stuff like that.
Trying to find ways to basically like absolve herself of responsibility. And it definitely makes it sound like he knows that she did something wrong as well. But again,
then nothing happens. Yeah.
Other than a cameo by
Bryan Cranston.
Oscar nominee Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, 4-time Emmy winner for Breaking Bad, 3-time nominee for Malcolm in the Middle, and also he will be in the 1991 movie Dead Space. So Dead Silence and Dead Space. Yeah, so that's the second and final scene that he's in. But yeah, at some point they do find the body. I don't fully remember how. They just, Sunny is asked to go to the scene of this crime to start to cover the story. I don't remember how they actually found it.
I really...
But it was over 3 months after the actual incident happened. Yeah. They made a point of that. And so they find the water bottle that Zan had and a fingernail, which was Zan's, at the scene of the crime. But that's about all they have. The body is a complete skeleton at this point, had been, scavenged by buzzards or rodents or whatever off the side of the road.
Yeah, coyotes or whatever.
So it's basically all
like
bones.
A full-on skeleton.
Yeah.
Absolutely no meat is left after 3 months in the desert. But I don't know, who knows.
And then, so that body is taken to the morgue, basically, and that's when Deputy Ryan and Detective Barton are standing over the bones of the body, talking to Sunny. And, Detective Barton makes it sound like he definitely knows that Sunny's responsible. Like, there's so much of this inference that everyone knows that they're guilty. And I'm not sure
no
if that's
one's coming straight out saying
state. So. Right. And I don't know if that's just supposed to be the character's interpretation of what they're saying.
Yeah, it's probably like Zanny's and Sunny's interpretation, like, oh, they know.
But
and at that time, they don't know.
They certainly don't have the evidence to link them.
Yeah.
But
But then
Sunny does act super suspicious.
Yeah, because she gets very... Whenever she's around them, she's, like, super nervous and doesn't... She's, like, tripping up her words and can't really, you know, do her job.
Because she's like, well, you know, is there any way... She says, like, they, in conjunction with the crime, when the cops haven't said anything about there being multiple people. And so the detective is
it
like,
could just be,
what do you
like...
mean they...
Right.
It's like, well, I guess it probably had to be because we found this fingernail, you know, so it's probably
and it was
a woman.
Like a heavy
she probably
body.
need to have help carrying the body over to the thing.
Well, you could also say they because you don't want to gender someone. I know.
They did not care in 91.
Well, so you just say, what did he do?
Yeah, but she said they because she was part of the they.
Yeah.
The multiple people there.
Well, then you have, like, Deputy Ryan kind of putting all these... Because he's got the credit card from Joan. He's got this water bottle.
Water bottle with the college logo on it.
So then that's when he calls Joan. Mm-hmm. But then he just asks her, by any chance, do you go to the College of...
I forget what
it was. Like the Pacific Northwest or something. Something like that. It was a very generic... name.
It might be an actual school, but I don't know. I didn't write it down either. So.
And she's like, I used to go there, but then she kind of, you know, gets nervous, and she's like, okay, I don't know why you're calling, and I have to go somewhere, so can you just call me tomorrow or something like that?
Mm-hmm. And that sort of leads him to look into things further and discovers that the car is rented under her name. They look at the car and notice that there had been some work done, and, you know, because it wasn't the original windshield on the thing, and so, yeah, it kind of, like, steamrolls from there.
Yeah, so it's all pointing to Joan.
Yes.
Joan freaks out, and then she goes to Palm Springs and to talk to Sunny. Mm-hmm. And... meanwhile, she's, you know, trying to look up all these law books, trying to find a way to get out of it. And that's when Zanny calls Sunny, and she's like, have you spoken to Joan, or have you seen her? And then Sunny's like, oh, she's here. And then Zanny's like, why are you there? And then Zanny's like, okay, hold on, I'm gonna fly down there so we can all figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, the recurring theme in the second part, like after the accident, is can the friends really trust each other anymore?
No, it's just like a very strained... It's mostly like Zanny telling these other two what to do.
Zan wants to do everything she possibly can
to get out of it.
Avoid the situation.
Yeah.
Sunny still has a ton of guilt and wants to report it, but she's, you know, afraid of going against the group. Joan is kind of stuck in the middle. But
she's like...
If she reported it, she would have the least consequences, you know, originally, other than having her strict dad be mad at her.
Right. She's like, I don't want my dad knowing that I was even down here, or...
But we don't even know what her aspirations are in terms of college. We know Sunny wants to be the newswoman. We know that Zan is going for law school. But we don't know what Joan is doing with her life, or wanting to do with her life. So, but all the evidence points to Joan, and so Zan is there to try to hopefully help guide her when they go to the police and say, you know, here's what you say when you talk to them, because it's coming to that now. So, you know, she's
like coaching her. Like,
here's what you say, here's what you don't say. You know, say yes, no, I don't know, to whatever questions.
And then, Joan is just like, why don't we all... Oh, well, because then they're going to drop her off, and then she thought Zan was going to come with her, and she's like, no, I can't go in there with you, because that'll be suspicious.
Right, because Zan has not been connected to this at all. Like, Sunny, it's already established that Sunny knows Joan to some degree.
Yeah.
And that they were there together in some form.
It's like, if I go in there with you, they're going to think... Mm-hmm. I'm going to be a part of it, which she doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, Joan freaks out. She's like, I can't do this, yada yada. They all kind of get into this argument. I don't want to say fight. Because they were fighting after this entire thing happened.
Yeah.
Like, just constant arguing. And then Zanny's just saying, let me fix this. And they're just putting their trust in her.
Zan's really trying to talk it through like a rational type of a scenario of just avoiding penalties.
Yeah.
But Joan is like, if anything happens, like, you know, she's coming to the realization that this is all going to fall on my head and my head alone.
Right, because
so, like,
everything is under my name.
You know, I'm going to take the fall for this for everybody, whether I like it or not. And no amount of discussion is going to persuade her from thinking that. And so, yeah, at some point, like, she rushes out of the motel and she's like standing on the short board of the pool, the diving board of the pool, and it seemed like a really weird threat that she was like, it seemed like she was like threatening to jump into the pool from like, 2 feet up on the short diving board. I'm like, this is weird. And then at some point she,
like
Zan goes back into the room.
Yeah.
And they're gonna watch the news report together, and Joan climbs up on the roof again. While Zan is watching Sonny do the report about this new breaking development in the case. And so... But first there's a Crash Dummy commercial, which was a nice little touch, not only just for nostalgia, but also horrible. Considering it was a car accident movie. And then, Joan is on the roof and jumping into the pool like she had done before. There's a gardener there, or some sort of yard worker for the hotel. And apparently she hits her head this time. I didn't notice that. You did, but I didn't.
Did, because you were laughing.
I was laughing because she was like, she splashed the gardener, and the gardener just kind of like waddled away kind of funny.
So he was like, I got splashed on.
Like, and what? But then, like, I don't know, you thought you saw blood, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it looked like a pretty clean jump to me, but...
I'm like, no, she's killing herself.
But yeah, she hit her head because, the
pool was not deep enough.
Probably not from that spot, I guess. She definitely hit her head, as they show later when they take her out, and she is gone.
Yeah.
She's gone.
Like, she does kill herself, and Zan...
While a very over-the-top song plays in the background.
Yeah. It was like a song, another song where I was like, okay, this could also be on Kickboxer 2. Yeah, and then Zan comes out after that whole news segment, and she's like, what the hell's going on? Because the police are there now. And that's when she sees, like, Joni's body, like, on a stretcher, I guess, being zipped up, and she's, like, starts freaking out. And then she goes to Sonny, after Sonny is just literally doing her job of talking about more evidence of this murder that they did. Mm-hmm. And then Zanny's just like, don't go see Joni right now. Like, she's kind of like not telling her that Joni's dead.
No, she's trying to tell her about the accident, basically.
But
she's
the
like,
way
something
she
happened
goes,
to Joni.
Yeah, she's like, something happened, but she doesn't actually say Joni died. She's like, something happened.
Maybe she's hoping she didn't. I don't know, or is in denial. But Sonny somehow follows the cops or the ambulance to the hospital. I don't know how Sonny's able to get there. They're shortly after.
Yeah, and this is where cars. Where I was like, oh damn, I don't know.
Because Sonny is blaming Zan for the whole thing. Like Zan's definitely up to something or other, and Sonny's like, get away from me, I don't want to talk to you, get away from this car. And then she goes to try to follow the ambulance.
Because she's like, because of all of this, because Zan is like,
she's so obsessed with her lawyer career, she'll do anything to get it.
Yeah, she's so obsessed with like trying to get out of this and her lawyer career. And then now Sonny is like, knows that Joan is dead. So she's like, just because of all of this, we like trusted in you, Zan. Mm-hmm. And look at now, our friend is dead, and now I want nothing from you. But then Zan, I was like, damn, I don't know. I'm like, this is Melrose Place level, like drama.
The next part.
Yeah, the end, it was like what blew my mind.
So go for it. Tell me.
Not just Zan is like, okay, so I found a way for me to get out of it. And she's like, I confessed to the whole thing to get immunity, and I blamed it on you, Sonny, basically.
Yeah,
because
like
you were the driver of the vehicle, and you had a DWI.
Yeah.
And then you see the cops come out of the hospital room and like take Sonny away, and then that's it.
Well, not exactly. I mean, first off, before that even happens, where she says that she turned Sonny in, she straight up lied to her about what happened with Joan.
Yeah, that's why I was like, she said something happened with Jones, but she doesn't come out and say, "Oh, she's dead."
Yeah, she doesn't explain the argument that led to her going out and doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it actually ends with Zan sitting in the empty apartment that they shared.
Oh, yeah.
Watching the school piece that Sonny had edited at the beginning about friendship. And she's just rewinding it over and over again and crying. Sure. They should have had like a little note, I guess, but I mean, it's a fictional
thing.
Story,
yeah, I know.
So.
And then I was like, well, now I'm like, if I was Zan, like, how can you live with yourself doing this to like your best friends? And then if I was Sonny, I would be so pissed.
There's a lot of that in society. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was like, oh, damn. And I'm like, she's going to have to go to trial. And then I hope there's like, she's going to have to point fingers. And even though like Zan's like, oh, I have immunity now.
Yeah. Yeah. So the moral of the story is crime doesn't pay, basically. That's the whole thing. Even if you're ladies can also do crime, and they'll also face consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So let's quickly talk about cast and credits. There's no awards to speak of, no box office because it was a TV movie, but maybe you have the ratings so we can talk about it in a second. But this is the first movie directed by Peter O'Fallon. He had done some TV work before this, 30-something, Northern Exposure. He went on to do things like Party of Five, House, Legit, and Unreal. He also directed the movie Suicide Kings, which I think was probably his biggest movie. J. David Miles is the writer, only has one other credit to his name, and that is Goodnight Sugar Babe, The Killing of Vera Jo Wrigley, I don't know. It's from 2013, which he also directed. So, not much else from him. Two other people are credited with the story that I did not mention. They're also producers, Bob Bibb, who has not done a whole lot in the industry, and then also Louis Goldstein, who is a sound mixer who has done several 1991 movies on the sound side of things. He is also a 3-time Emmy nominee for sound mixing, Russian Doll, and then also John Oliver's HBO show. He's also done like Hereditary and some other big movies. So it's weird that he's involved in the story side of this. We have a pretty small cast overall. Renee Estevez is Zan, Xana Young, sister of Emilio and Charlie Sheen. She's also going to be in the 1991 movie Presumed Guilty, also known as Guilty Until Proven Innocent. She's been on West Wing for a few episodes as a character named Nancy. She was in Heathers. She was also the final girl in Sleepaway Camp 2. And she's also written 4 episodes of the show Anger Management, which was starring her brother Charlie Sheen. Lizanne Falk as Joni. 1991, she'll be in Leather Jackets, Runaway Father, Aftermath, A Test of Love, and we've also seen her briefly on Night on Earth as the tour manager person in Winona Ryder's segment when they're at the airport. She was also in Heathers as one of the Heathers. Say Anything, also in Suicide Kings with the same director. Less Than Zero. And her last feature was back in 1998, Shattered Image. She has not done much since. Carrie Mitchum played Sonny Haynes, who I think probably gave the best performance of the 3.
Yeah.
If I had to say. They're all good. All 3 of them were good.
Yeah, I like them all.
But I think I like Carrie Mitchum's performance best. She will also be in the movie Grave Images in 1991, but I cannot find that it's watchable. It's basically like an anthology horror movie. So if anyone knows of a copy, supposedly a VHS does exist, because on IMDb the image is a VHS cover, but I cannot find proof that it's available for sale anywhere, so it might be just extremely rare. But she's also been in stuff like Virtual Combat, Lethal Orbit, James Dean, Race with Destiny TV movie, and most notably Bold and the Beautiful, 414 episodes as Donna Logan from 1987 to 2001. Also previously married to Casper Van Dien. Mrs. Stillman we'll briefly talk about. We've seen her before in Sleeping with the Enemy. Claudette Nevins is Mrs. Stillman. She's also going to be in Child of Darkness, Child of Light, but she's been in stuff like Tough Turf and also Return of Planet of the Apes TV series, which I kind of forgot was a thing back in the day. Last person I'll mention here is Tim Russ, who played Deputy Ryan, the guy who did all the detective work, really, even though he's not credited as a detective. He's going to be in a couple more 1991 movies: Eve of Destruction, Heroes of Desert Storm, Night Eyes 2, but he's best known for playing Lieutenant Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager. So that's the cast and crew, and like I said, no awards to speak of for this one. Can't say I'm too surprised.
Yeah.
On to True Crime and Pop Culture we go.
I'm going to just talk about the TV first.
Sure.
This was on a Monday, August 26, 1991. It was, the Monday night movie for Fox. And Dead Silence had 6.8 million viewers, which was not as much. What was the Lucy and Desi?
Lucy and Desi was like 3 times as much, and considered a flop.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch this movie over Lucy and Desi.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, and this is also Fox, so I know Fox was new.
Was not expecting major ratings on it.
Yeah. But on this, at the same time, there was 2 other movies playing at the same time. There was one on ABC, which I could not, it's not on our list, so we will not be talking about this TV movie unless we find it somehow.
Yeah, unless it gets uploaded to YouTube or something.
And the movie was called Finding the Way Home. They had 10.2 million viewers or watchers.
I think I looked it up as a couple big names like Wilford Brimley, right?
Yeah, it had Hector Elizondo is one, and George C. Scott.
Oh, George C. Scott.
Yeah. So this is a movie where it's George C. Scott brings a noble presence to his role of a small-town Texas merchant in financial and emotional straits. Scott portrays Max Middleman, the troubled owner of a hardware store he founded in 1955. Business was bustling then, but today the customers aren't coming. The building is falling apart, and Max has fallen in arrears on his home mortgage payments. Then, out of the blue, Max incurs amnesia in an auto accident near a remote makeshift community of Latino farm workers. Struck by their camaraderie and adversity, he unwittingly undergoes a metamorphosis that reawakens him to a purpose in life.
So it's like Regarding Henry almost.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, okay, so was he an asshole during his troubled hardware store days?
Yeah.
And then he found these hard-working Latino I just thought I was like, oh god. Oh, I'm kind of glad we're not watching this. I don't know.
Yeah, TV movies are tough to find. Honestly, most of the TV movies that we have are going to be on YouTube rather than VHS or DVD.
They teach him, about good family and morals, and he's like, oh. I am a good guy now.
Like, what if he was like super racist? And
And we have the TV guide for this, so I don't know, we can take a picture of this movie along with the ad for Dead Silence.
Sure.
And the ad just says some secrets just aren't meant to be kept.
Oh, that's interesting. The tagline I found on IMDb is, "They were lifelong friends until they killed a man. Now no one's talking."
Yeah, that's like gives everything away.
Yeah, almost. You know, I honestly wish that the movie just had more intrigue in it. Like, it should have had more tension and intrigue. I wish there was a little bit more, like, backstabby or, you know, questioning each other's motives type of stuff.
It became backstabby at the very end.
Yeah, just, like, the last 2 minutes. I don't know. It just seemed... everything was just so straightforward.
Yeah.
It was, you know, straight like a highway. I want, like, more twists and turns and curves along the way.
Yeah. And the other movie that was on at the same time was on NBC that had 7.3 million viewers.
For all stations.
It was a movie from 1989 called Turn Back the Clock, and I was like...
so it wasn't an original movie?
No, it was an original. It was just kind of like when, you know, Lucy and Desi, it was up against Big.
Which got like the same numbers.
Yeah.
So Turn Back the Clock does not sound familiar. What was it?
It's a 1989 movie.
Oh.
It's a troubled actress kills her husband at midnight on New Year's Eve and immediately regrets it. Given the opportunity to relive the previous calamitous year, she finds she is powerless to change the final terrible outcome.
Okay.
I've never heard of this movie.
It'd be funny if you're like, oh, she killed him at midnight, but it's daylight savings, roll the clock back, and then like she gets
kills him again,
he's alive again.
Yeah, that was the 3 movies that were up against each other that night. So I don't have anything true crime. And I mean, if this was based on a real story, that would have been like super interesting.
Yeah. Oh, can I make one little note about TV? Because I noticed in the major, you know, the long form guide that's on TV Guide, the lead into this at 6:30 was Studs.
Oh, really?
The TV show. Yeah. So that was always a fun show.
That's weird because this movie started at like 8 p.m. at night. So I thought Studs was like a 10 p.m. show.
Yeah, I always remember watching it late at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, according to TV Guide.
So okay, going on to historical events that happened on this day. We have a baseball historical event.
All right.
And I'm probably going to mess this up.
Okay.
Because I know nothing about anything.
Sure.
Former Royals great Brett Saberhagen.
Uh-huh.
On August 26, 1991, in his final season with the Royals, tossed the franchise's last no-hitter, was a 7-0 blanking of the Chicago White Sox.
Okay.
And I found there was like an... Huh?
Sorry, that was... was that the big year of no-hitters? There was like a lot of no-hitters, either in 1990 or 1991.
I have no idea.
But yeah, it was like 6 or 7 no-hitters in the same year. Sort of like what happened in 2021. But yeah.
I found like a small article. It was on Fox Sports. It was like a 2014 article because it was, I guess, in Kansas City, he was honored as part of the Royals, quote, Legend Nights promotion they had there.
Okay, yeah.
And so there's like this article that I'll give to you, and it has like the photo of him that night where he hit the no-hitter. It's a really large photo, so we can probably put that on the website.
What I'll probably do is actually put a baseball
like
card.
A baseball card, you have?
Yeah, because I know that Score, and some other sets also did it too, but like Score would usually have a card commemorating every single no-hitter.
Mm.
So I can picture it in my head, I think, and if I'm right, then I'll just post it online.
All right, so in this article...
Also a good picture. Also a good picture for RBI Baseball. He's like one of the sidearm pictures.
Okay, he kind of talks about this in this article about his pitching, but I don't know, it's just like he's interviewed because this is like 23 years. This is in 2014, so yeah, 23 years later, he's getting this, recognition, and it just says, quote, he said, "I can remember just about everything on that day." he said that you have, this is a quote, you have a lot of great memories in baseball, like the World Series and Cy Youngs and MVPs, but when you have something as unique as a no-hitter, it stays with you.
I can understand that.
We have another famous birthday.
Oh.
So we're getting like...
yeah, they're coming in clumps.
It's just, it's just people that I'm like, oh, I know this person. So. You may not. So it's Dylan O'Brien was born August 26, 1991. He was most notably in the MTV show Teen Wolf. And he's also in the Maze Runner movies. He was in the Squatch.
He's in the Squatch.
That's what he's well known for.
Okay.
And
is he the one that's like not going to be in the movie that's coming out? And because they're making like a Teen Wolf movie, and there have been talks about how one of the major cast members is not going to be in it. But I haven't paid much attention. I
don't know, because I got him confused with, there's another young guy named Dylan, but it's Dylan Minnette. And that guy was in 13 Reasons Why, which I know you didn't watch. No. They both just have dark hair, and like they both look very young, even though they're like 30 now. Right. They still look teen aged to me. And the other Dylan that I got confused with this Dylan, he was in the most recent Scream movie. He was the son of the female sheriff.
Oh, okay.
They look alike to me. So I thought that was this guy, but no. And then just moving on to music, I'm doing the bottom 5 because this is, summertime, and you know what was number 1 during the summer. This was as of August 31st, 1991. So at number 100, a lot of these songs, I think 4 out of the 5 I've never heard of until today. Okay.
Well, that's coming from the music expert in the house.
You're right, yeah. So at number 100 was the song When the Lights Go Out by Gerardo. The only song I know by Gerardo is Rico Suave.
Yeah.
And I listened to this and I was like, I've never heard this. I mean, this is probably like the second quote hit.
The B-side?
Yeah, the B-side of Rico Suave. But, I mean, I was watching the video and it was making me laugh. It's just, over the top, like, shower scenes and like massaging, but then all of a sudden there's like 3 dudes singing in the back. I don't know. It was like trying to be very like Color Me Bad-ish.
Okay.
And then number 99 was Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohn.
That's probably like near the tail end of its run then.
Yeah, this was 23 weeks on the chart, and it peaked at number 13 at some point. But I mean, that is a grocery store classic.
For sure. Still to this day.
Yeah. I feel like, that was like back in my day, that was probably played once every half hour. That was always on. At number 98 was this song called Every Other Day by this group called Orrin Moore, featuring Father MC. He does a little like rap in the middle of it.
All right.
But I've never heard this song before. But it's like just a typical song that you would... it always makes me think of like Taylor Dane, I guess.
Okay. Like
kind of like a Tell It to My Heart type of song. But it's like a song that you would hear when you're getting like your hair cut or something. Or your nails done. It's just like one of those like unknown dancey songs you hear in the background.
Okay.
Number 97... Okay, I've heard of this song. I just forgot that this was a song. Was The Devil Came Up to Michigan. So it's like a play on The Devil Went Down to Georgia but it's, you know, a rap by KMC Crew. I don't know if you know who the KMC Crew is.
No.
Me neither. But I remember hearing this song. I just forgot it existed. And it's just, you know, they take samples from Devil Went Down to Georgia, but it's them rapping about the devil came up to Michigan. And, well, actually, number 96, we heard this song. It's Gonna Catch You by Lonnie Gordon. It was on the Cool as Ice soundtrack, so it was played during Cool as Ice. And, you know, I was listening to it, and I think it was just during one of those times where maybe they were running through the construction sites. It's like one of those songs.
Yeah, or just like when they're dancing while the motorcycle's getting repaired or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on to rankings and ratings we go.
Yep.
On your 1 to 5 star scale, where are you going to put Dead Silence?
I'm going to give this a 2.
Yeah, I think the acting helps a lot with this one. I think, you know, the chemistry between the characters was...
It was mostly, I guess, because it's very TV movie, the plot was...
You don't expect much from TV movie plots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was, like, slightly better than other TV movies in general. I think we've just been lucky with most of our TV movies that they've been strong until now.
I mean, yeah, I didn't really hate this. I mean, I would watch this over Lucy and Desi.
Oh, for sure, yeah. On my 0 to 4 star scale, I'm still only going to give it like a 1 star. I think the story was just a little bit too, again, straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like
and then when it got good, it was right at the very end.
So, yeah, I think the acting kind of saved it, but every movie's worth watching once. Would you watch it again? Yeah, over Lucy and Desi for sure.
Yeah, but other than that, no.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how different the other Dead Silence is, because you know it's not going to be the same storyline at all.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that this is going to be the second ranked Dead Silence in 1991 when all is said and done. But yeah, not really worth watching again. But it was, you know, enjoyable for what it was. If you out there want to watch Dead Silence or A Death in Palm Springs, as of this recording in March 2022, it is available on YouTube and possibly other internet sites, but nowhere legitimately, quote unquote. As always, check your local listings, because that could change. As for us, you can listen to us on all of your major podcasting platforms. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd. And YouTube, just search 1991 Movie Rewind, or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies, along with show notes and more. Next week, we're at the tax season deadline, so we're going to be talking about the movie Money, starring Eric Stoltz and Christopher Plummer. That's available on DVD and YouTube. We will see you then.